What's going on there, YouTube, and welcome back to another comic book video. Okay, guys, so we are basically going to continue our coverage over Norman Osborn Thunderbolts, and we actually pick up with a new writer. And what I mean is that the first two storylines was written by Warren Ellis, but he dipped out. And so we have a new writer, and that writer name is Christoph N. Gage. Now, with that being said, Mr. Gage came over to the Thunderbolts and he wrote 3 one-shot storylines. Now, one-shots are basically a storyline that is done in one book, meaning that there is no part 2, part 3, part 4, none of that. It's just one book and done. Now, these one-shots were about 3 different characters, each one shot about one character. One for Songbird, one for Venom, and one for the radioactive man. And so after those one shots, it then led to him actually writing the main Thunderbolt series. It was a kind of way for him to say, hey, this is how my stories are going to feel like to you guys. I hope you like them, and I hope you want more of them. And so with that being said, we're going to cover the first one shot, which is Thunderbolts Breaking Point. Now, of course, this is all about Songbird. And of course, by this point, Songbird is trying to take over the team. But of course, she has Norman Osborn and Moonstone standing in her way. I almost said standing in her way. On top of that as well, someone from her past comes back to make things even more complicated for her. And so this is all about Songbird, and I do hope you enjoy today's video. And so getting into today's storyline, we actually do pick up with the team, the Thunderbolts, going after a character called Brother Nature. Now, I do want to mention one thing before we actually dive into this section is that when it comes to the Thunderbolts, you have to remember they were basically brought together by the American government, because after Civil War, there was a new law that you had to register to be a hero in America. Of course, if you did not do that, you'll be arrested and locked up. And of course, there are a lot of people out there who don't follow that new law. Now, with all that being said, though, of course, you didn't have the American government put a new team of Thunderbolts together to go around and capture those people. Now, of course, the government gave that team over to Norman Osborn for him to be team leader. Now, the reason why Norman Osborn is in charge is because he showed the American government that he was quotation marks better now because of medicine that he's taking that helps him control his Green Goblin persona. Now, with all that being said right now, we actually do see the team going after a character called Brother Nature. Now, Brother Nature is actually a very powerful character. As a matter of fact, he first appeared back in, I want to say, Captain America number 336. I really hope I got the book correct. Now, the year, I want to say 1987. But either way, though, when it comes to Captain America, that book right there, it showed us how powerful Brother Nature could be. And matter of fact, this book does as well. Because when it comes to Brother Nature, he has the ability, had a hard time there, sorry. He had the ability to control the weather. He has the ability to cause earthquakes. Now, his last ability is not that important, being able to talk to animals. But either way, though, Brother Nature is still somewhat a powerful character. But unfortunately, Marvel only used him 4 times in his entire existence. Now, with that being said, we see the team right now trying to capture him because, of course, he's breaking the law and he's causing a lot of problems. Now, here's the thing, though. As the team is trying to capture Brother Nature, they're having a hard time doing that. Yes, because how powerful he is, but because Moonstone, the field team leader, is not being a good team leader. And what I mean is that you have the team asking her, what can they do to help capture Brother Nature? And all of her plans are completely bad ideas, where of course it could lead into somebody getting hurt, but not her, because she only cares for herself and no one else. And so when she gives out her new plan, everyone's like, okay, that's a bad idea. Somebody is going to get hurt, possibly killed. And so you then have Songbird cut in and say, no, we are not going to do that plan. Instead, we're going to do this plan instead, which is her kind of tricking Brother Nature to actually give up so that he could be arrested. Now, once they're able to arrest Brother Nature, you have Moonstone get very angry and saying that she's basically going to have her team locked up as well with the prisoners because they're not following orders. And most of this team is just bad guys being forced to work for the American government. And so she's kind of like, because you guys did not follow my rules, I could technically have you guys thrown in jail right now. But of course, the team is kind of like, we don't care because we're alive again. Thanks to Songbird, not you. And of course, it continues the idea that Songbird and Moonstone do not like each other at all. Now, the next page of this storyline is basically picks up with a meeting going on between Norman Osborn, Songbird, and also Moonstone, where of course you have Moonstone run over to Norman Osborn because he is the actual leader of the team and Moonstone is just the field team leader. But of course, Moonstone ran over to Norman Osborn complaining, and Norman Osborn is kind of punishing Songbird. Now, in the last storyline we did of the Thunderbolts, you actually had Songbird being able to blackmail Norman Osborn good enough to have the ability to kind of have more control over the team. But for some strange reason, it feels like that idea is not in this book at all. But either way, though, you do have the three of them talking about the new action figures that Songbird is going to have made of her. And the reason why, because Songbird has become very popular out there in the world. And so, of course, it's the marketing team wants to make action figures for her. Now, Moonstone gets very upset because, one, the team of the Thunderbolts likes Songbird more than Moonstone. But now, here is Songbird getting action figures over Moonstone, and she hates the idea. Now, Norman Osborn tells her, don't worry, you're also getting some kind of figure made as well. But of course, her figure is kind of bad. Like, basically, they're making an action figure for males who might like it for other reasons. But either way, though, it's basically Moonstone getting upset that Songbird is actually more popular than she is. Now, we do see Moonstone run over to Swordsman. Now remember, this is actually the second Swordsman. Remember, the first Swordsman died years ago back in the Kree Skrull War, but he was revived and then he flew out into space to not be seen again until Empire. This swordsman is actually Andreas Strucker. Now, of course, Andreas Strucker has a twin sister, but she's dead. And that is why he's on the team, because Norman Osborn told Andreas if he stays on the team, Norman Osborn will be able to actually make a clone of his sister to give over to him. And so Swordsman is only on the team waiting for that clone to be made. Now, with all that being said, though, you actually do have Moonstone coming to Swordsman about the idea of killing off Norman Osborn and Songbird, because Moonstone knows that if she kills off Norman Osborn, the American government will only give the team over to Songbird then. And so now her plan involves getting rid of Norman Osborn and Songbird so that she can finally have control over the entire team. Now, this plot line has been going on for a while. It's not a new thing that Gage has made up for the storyline. It's just him continuing that idea that has been going on for a while. Now, with that being said, though, you do have Swordsman tell Moonstone killing Norman Osborn and Moonstone is a bad idea. And the reason why, because, watch this, he says Songbird is too popular right now. The world loves her. The team loves her. And so if you kill her, you're going to have a lot of people still care for her more than you, because now it's basically Swordsman comparing Songbird to Captain America, because even though Steve Rogers did break the law in Civil War, when he died at the end of that storyline right there, the entire government felt sad, the entire country felt sad about his death. And so what he's saying is, right now, the public cares for her too much. We care for her too much. And honestly, I don't like you either. But if you kill off Songbird, here's your big problem. Even after her death, you're going to have people tell you over and over again when you're doing something That is not what Songbird would do. Or Songbird would do something entirely different. And so basically what he's saying is, even after she died, the public is still going to care for her more than actually care for you. And so while you're trying to kill her off, just realize your master plan is not going to work. Now, this actually leads into the master plan of Moonstone. And what I mean is that we actually do pick up with Songbird walking around the base, and she runs into her mother. This is Mimi Gold, the mother of Songbird. Now, this is actually kind of interesting, but at the same time not. And what I mean is that this is the only book we're going to see Mimi Gold in ever in Marvel Comics, until Marvel decides to do a big storyline for Songbird and they could possibly bring her mother back to life. But either way though, when it comes to Mimi Gold, she is the mother of Songbird, but they haven't seen each other since Songbird was 11 years old. And the reason why, because when it came to Mimi Gold, she was basically arrested and thrown into prison. Now, she did come back after that to try have a new beginning with with Songbird and Songbird's father, to hopefully have a new beginning as a family. But the problem was though, both parents, they drank a lot and fought a lot. And so with that being said, Songbird's mother left again, leaving Songbird with her father, who still drank a lot and was very abusive. And so to Songbird, she's kind of like, I'm still mad at you because you left me when I was 11 years old. On top of that right there, why are you back? Because of course, to us fans, it seems like she's only back because Songbird got very popular. Because again, we saw earlier, Songbird is getting some new action figures, and of course means that she's a very popular hero. And so to her mother, it seems like she's only back because she's about to have a lot of money because of her daughter. Now, of course, you do have Songbird's mother kind of talk to Songbird about how she didn't want to come back until she was ready. And not like, I'm ready, let's go, get it on. Like, she wants to make sure that she was completely healed, that she was no longer drinking, that she was actually better to be a mom and be there for her daughter. And so it only been like 2 years since she finally been healed and ready to go again. But of course, she said she tried and tried and tried until she was actually able to find Songbird. And so with that being said, it's her hoping that they can have a new beginning. And you have Songbird kind of down with the idea of having this new beginning with her mother. Now, this actually does lead into the moment we come to find out what we thought earlier is actually true. And what I mean is that we actually do pick up with Songbird with her mother right now, where you have Songbird kind of showing her mother the different charities she has across the country and telling her mother that she could possibly give her mom a job on one of those charities as a way to help her mom get back on her feet again. Now, with that being said though, that is the moment we come to find out what we thought earlier is true, because you do have her mom think that Songbird is talking about giving her the ability to control an entire charity. But of course, you have Songbird say, no, I said I'll give you a job on one of my charities, but you can't actually run the charity. And of course, her mom sounds very disappointed, but then her mom said, I got a better idea. I'll write a book about you and me. And of course, this book could be everything about your past and my past to kind of tell the world your story. Now, of course, Songbird is like, no, I don't want that. But then you have her mom say, well, you should, because somebody else could possibly write a book about you and make money off your life. And that is not fair. So your family should be the one to make the money off of you. But again, to Songbird, she's kind of like, no, I don't want that. Like, no. And now I realize why you're back. You only came back here because, again, you thought, oh, my daughter is popular now. She's probably rolling into money. Let me see if I'm able to get some money out of her. And so you have Songbird actually tell her mother to go away and never come back. Where, of course, her mother is very upset. And you have Norman Osborn kind of like, children, Can't stand him, right? Because again, Norman Osborn does have a son, Harry Osborn, and Norman and Harry do not have a very good father and son relationship. Now, this actually does lead into the moment you have the Thunderbolts right now having a training session. But while having this session, you actually do have Moonstone come over to give Songbird some bad news. That Songbird's mother, Mimi Gold, had died in a car accident. Now, of course, the reason why she died is because apparently she was drinking, and of course she drove and got in a car accident and died. Now, for Songbird, she can't believe that because her mom was 2 years sober. And so it's kind of like, did her mom actually have a drink? Or did somebody do something to her mom to get her killed? But either way, you have Moonstone kind of come over to Songbird pretending like she actually cares, but she doesn't, because Norman Osborn kind of forced her to kind of go over there and be a therapist or a team lead for Songbird, to be all like, are you okay? Are you all right because you lost your mother? But in reality, Moonstone doesn't care. Matter of fact, Moonstone is loving the idea that Songbird has lost somebody, her mother, which is really messed up. But of course, this is Songbird and Moonstone's bad blood between each other just continuing on. Now, you actually do have Songbird kind of staying in her room for a good period of time because, of course, she did lose her mother. But she does go over to the one person on the team she actually feels like they're very close, like she's close to. And of course, that person is the radioactive man, because her and him have been on the team for a good period of time now in Marvel Comics, and they have built that bond. Now, of course, this is Songbird kind of coming over to the radioactive man, but not really in a good way. Like, yes, she needs somebody because she just lost her mother. She needs somebody to talk to be with. But of course, what seems to happen here, and I'm hoping that I'm wrong about this, it does seem like Songbird is coming over to the radioactive man to possibly, get in bed with him. But of course, he's kind of like, we can't do that because I'm still, radioactive. I basically spread radiation sometimes. So like, even though I control my powers, there's still a chance you could get, very sick because of my abilities. And so he says, no, we can't do that, but I'm here for you no matter what, because I know what you're going through is a lot. And you have Songbird kind of push him away and go back into her room, but then you kind of have her say she has no idea if she'll be able to actually, continue on with this life of being a hero, because she just lost somebody else, and this time it's her own mother. Now, there is a page where you basically have Songbird tell Norman Osborn that she's ready to go back on the field to continue to be a hero and be kind of like one of the many leaders of this team. Now, Norman Osborn tells her, no, you can't go out there because you're still mourning over the death of your mother, and he feels like her feelings could possibly cause a lot of problems for the team. But then she kind of says to him, listen, if you don't let me go out there, I'll stay here and you and I can talk about my feelings. And he's like, nope, don't want to do that right there. Yep, you're good to go. Go ahead, join the team, get out there on the next mission and go capture more bad people. And so you actually do have the Thunderbolts going after a particular team called the Jury. Now, I'm not going to sit down here and basically explain who the Jury is, because we actually saw them back in our Venom Lethal Protector video we did a while back. But either way though, this team is actually not that important at all. And the reason why, because you have the Thunderbolts being able to get rid of the team very easily so that we can actually move on to the next part of the storyline, which of course is the moment where you have the reporters wanting to talk to Songbird about what she just did. And of course, you have Songbird kind of destroy the microphones and cameras of the media because she does not want to talk to them at all. And of course, it makes the media people very upset. And of course, you do have one lady say that she's going to look up the bad wrestling days of Songbird to kind of make her popularity take a hit. But either way, though, you then have Moonstone come over to kind of yell at Songbird for what she did. Now, this leads into a very interesting conversation. And what I mean is that And so after that, you have Songbird actually tell us that she began to investigate her mother's death because she feels like her mother's death was very fishy. Yes, her mom was an alcoholic, but her mom was 2 years sober. And so to find out that your mom basically drank some alcohol, drove, got in a car accident, and died after being 2 years sober, to Songbird, it seemed like everything was staged as a way to mess with Songbird, because you have Songbird basically tell us that when it comes to the base of the Thunderbolts, to actually be allowed inside the base, you have to be cleared, go through a lot of different levels of clearance. And of course, somebody has to clear you. And Songbird tell us that she was able to talk to a security guard who told her that Moonstone was the one who cleared Mimi Gold to be allowed on the base. Now, of course, after being on the base, Mimi Gold did run into Norman Osborn, and we saw that. After Songbird told her mom to stay away and never come back, Norman Osborn did talk to Mimi Gold, but Norman Osborn walked away. And so Moonstone walked up after that and told Mimi, yes, that was Norman Osborn. He's the man in charge of the entire operation of the Thunderbolts, and he'll do anything to protect us if we're going through certain kinds of problems, kind of hinting at the idea if Songbird is very upset about something, and because it was her mother, Norman Osborn possibly did kill her mother. But at the same time, it could have been Moonstone as well. And the question is, though, who killed Mimi Gold? Norman Osborn or Moonstone? That is the big question. Now, for Songbird, she feels like it was Moonstone, but she does not have enough proof to actually prove it. But you do have you do have Songbird say, like, basically, I'm watching you guys. If you go after anybody else I care for or I work with, I will make sure you pay for what you do to them. And so with that being said, it's just Songbird giving out a threat to Moonstone, and the book ends right there. And so with that being said, this is where we are going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, I'll see y'all next time in the next comic book video. Oh, if you have any suggestions on books I should read, well, please let me know in the comments below, because you never know, your suggestion could be a future video down the road. But again, see y'all next time. Later.